Ladies and gentlemen, filmmakers and moviegoers alike, welcome to this week's episode of Critic Casual. I'm your host, Srekcuf5, and joining me as always is the Vitacular Dorkydev.
I was really gonna go for caffeinated, but that works.
I mean, everyone's caffeinated in their own ways.
That was such a unique take. I'm not gonna lie. I'm both impressed and confused
It's so deep.
simultaneously.
It's so deep. It's
It's stupid.
yeah. Yeah. Anything you want to talk about before we get into now generally what's going on this week?
Uh, no, I mean
Yeah.
we're here.
All right.
We're ready.
All right.
It's finally a Marvel movie.
I was about to say, you're not going to talk about it? It's finally we're here. It's time. It's happened. The first time in over a year.
I had to bait you a little bit. We're finally watching a fucking Marvel movie in theaters. Something about it just like it hits different having like not to say that like Disney Plus hasn't been like fantastic
Mm-hmm.
and in some ways better quality than some of the movies in ways. But there's just something about Marvel's set pieces on the big screen in their quality that is just so Marvel. And I love it. And I've missed it, okay? I've missed giant fights with explosions and things falling and like impossible cool shit happening. I've missed it. And I've gotten 2 in a month.
I was about to say, we saw impossible cool shit last 2
Month.
weeks ago.
Yeah, it was 2 weeks ago, but it's a month ago at the same time. So,
But yeah. So, I guess let's get in here. Let's start talking about the movies for today, which this week I have dubbed Defying Expectations. And we'll get into why I called it that later. Immediately, almost probably. But Defying Expectations, where we're talking about Anna, a movie came out in 2019, and then we have Black Widow, a movie that came out this weekend, a few days ago. So yeah, and then we'll go into news and wrap up and all the other fun stuff. So yeah, I guess let's get in here. Let's start.
get into it.
Yeah, let's start talking about our first movie of today, which is Anna.
Anna, which released June 21st of 2019 with a budget of what's the fucking EU
Euro?
money? Euro? That's the E, right? That's the E looking one.
Yeah.
Estimated 30 million euros. Gross US and Canada $7 million. Opening weekend, God, I hate that they did it backwards. Still, I'm gonna complain about it for another week. I'm sorry because I didn't remember about it. Opening weekend, it made 3.6 million. Gross US and Canada 7 million, and gross worldwide was 30 million. So real quick, I am going to see how much the euros was
Translation wise.
in dollars.
As you know, us Americans are American dollars.
Hold on, that didn't do the thing I wanted it to do.
Did it translate euros into more euros?
No, it tried to translate dollars into more dollars. Somehow. I don't know how that happened.
Great at this.
Okay.
Best at podcast.
Estimated US dollars, that is about a movie of 36 million. So it really, really bombed. At least that's currently.
I mean, do you remember what came out around this time in 2019?
Was this Endgame?
I was pretty sure it's either Endgame or Mission Impossible.
Oh god, 19 was such a good year. Fuck.
Let's see. Yeah, Anna released in June 2019. So what other movies released in June 2019? Because I remember the reason why I thought of this movie specifically is because I remember we went to go see a movie. I don't remember what movie it was, but I remember seeing the trailer for it and thinking, wow, that's probably a cheap ripoff of a movie that I'm going to be seeing. Let's see. It was John Wick.
Okay.
John Wick 3 came out, I think, just after this movie. And I saw, or just before this movie. Yeah, this came out in May. So I'm going to assume it was John Wick. So I think I went to see John Wick in May, and I saw the trailer for this in June. And my thought process was, wow, this is an action movie that has no purpose other than being an action movie. Like, and they're trying to sell it to us and make us watch it. So I don't plan to watch it. And then we started talking about movies related to Black Widow, and we talked about Black Widow's first movie, which is basically like 3 lines, so I vetoed that. And then we started talking about
It was
other.
just an excuse to fucking watch Iron Man 2.
Yeah.
But then I suggested Winter Soldier, which does feature her heavily.
Mm-hmm. And I still vetoed that. So then we started talking about movies featuring Scarlett Johansson, which led to Lucy, which would have been interesting because that is directed by the same guy who directed this movie, Luke Besson. No, we decided to go with this movie instead after I was like, why not this movie? Because it's a female spy who kills people. And also, turns out they're both Russian.
God damn it.
So we got Russian female spy-led movies. But this movie, particularly, Anna, is the one that we're talking about right now. And our main character, blah, 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 blah. The reason I ended up calling this week Defying Expectations is not because I thought these movies defied my expectations, but because how these movies are set up, they have to defy expectations to be memorable or spectacular. And what I mean by that, at least in the case of this movie, is the editing in this movie, story chronologically, kind of ruins this movie for me.
Oh, 100%. Okay, I was waiting to see where you fucking went with this whole long ass. Man, that bush is beating around to get to this point.
I was trying to explain my thought process. I'm sorry.
I know, but damn it. I've been sitting here like, all right, if you
I went from
good,
one
I'm gonna
topic.
complain about the fucking the fucking time. I hate when we get, like, it can be used occasionally. Like it pulls Ocean's fucking 11 levels of shit after a certain point, and I'm like, okay, like it's cute a couple times, but when your movie literally like hinges on these moments every time, everything that happens hinges on that it becomes predictable.
Well, I mean, even
don't want it to be predictable.
And even past that too, just how they tell the story of events, because they start at one point in time, then they jump 3 years later, and then they jump back to 6 months before the 3 years later, and then they jump to a year after that, and then they like jump back again a year before.
Yeah, and I think it goes 5, 3, 1, sporadic months.
And then just double tracking back to previous conversations that we had.
Yeah.
But that's part of the problem that I have with this movie, is because it's edited in a way where the sequences lose dramatic tension. For instance, the one that I'm thinking of very specifically is actually a pretty darn good fight. It's the bar fight where she has 5 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that sequence, I have my complaints about it, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, but that's side. I'll talk about that in a second. But that sequence is a pretty intense scene, ish, and it is a flashback from what we've already seen. Like, we are dipping back. I think this is the 6 months backwards for this instance, and we already know that she survives the fight. So they have to defy our expectations of what we expect her first challenge to be because we know that she survives the fight. And
Yeah.
they have to constantly do that, is try to defy the expectations of what we the audience believe is going to happen. But they I fail at it in multiple ways at multiple
Well,
times.
one problem I have with that scene and other fight scenes in this, I didn't care for the action because like it's well choreographed, but it's too choreographed.
I was gonna bring that up actually. It's well
It
choreographed.
it's really cool to look at, but when you start to look at it from the lens of the reality that we have, it starts to feel too it feels more like Kingsman in this world, if that makes sense. Like a Kingsman fight. But Kingsman sets up their world to be like that. Anna sets it up to be a spy thriller, and then we get Kingsman fight, like partway through.
Because she's just a brawler, and but part of my complaints with the fight actually is uh the actors themselves or the stunt doubles that are in the fights. Our main character who plays Anna, I see her do it a couple of times, and it happens multiple times throughout the film where she reacts to an action before it happens, and it's
I've seen that a couple times, like
yeah,
the door closing scene. I saw that a few times.
mm-hmm.
Not
It's
from just her, but from other people too.
yeah, it's minor stuff, and but it's still something that where you could pick up on it and see it, where it's like in the middle of that bar fight, there's a moment that I see where she's like, she turns and like swings or punches at somebody with her back towards the camera, and then she'll quick turn around and then she puts her hand up, and then like her hand is ready to catch, and then the hand comes in that's supposed to be like a knife or something, and it's she's already prepared for the attacks before they come in a couple of instances, and in other instances it just seems it's too convenient. Like the movie starts with a gunfight, and then because she runs out of ammo, all the other people are now out of ammo. So now it's a
Yeah.
knife fight, and
Yeah, well, and that like we haven't started talking about it yet, but like to compare it a little bit, like to Black Widow a little bit, is that the action of this sticks out because like having watched one before the other, the action in this compared to a Marvel movie action, Marvel movies, are choreographed, but they're choreographed in a way that makes it feel realistic for its world. Um, anytime for its world that it's
yeah,
set up.
yeah. I'm sorry.
Um, not realistic to us, but
Mm-hmm.
realistic to the expectations of the rules that we have been set in the
Yeah,
Marvel
what they've
universe.
established. Yes.
This movie doesn't do that. It sets up a set of rules of it being a spy thriller and doing spy things, and then has this scene in it that just like what's happening, like her reaction time and all that stuff, like preemptively blocking stuff and everything. It doesn't feel real. It starts to take you out. Like it's an awesome choreographed scene. Don't get me wrong. In a different movie, this scene kills.
I was supposed to say I thought it was very similar to like John Wick action, if I was being honest.
Yes. But in John Wick's world, it's established that that's how fighting goes.
Mm-hmm.
We're shown because this movie opens with a spy moment,
Mm-hmm.
like a huge spy moment, and that's where we, I think, get our premise of stuff.
Yeah.
And then it goes off from there.
Yeah, every time we get to watch her do a fight, it is never like like sure she's smart in the way that she's dispatching people, but it's not like she has to calculate and be clever and manipulate the situation. She's just a badass fighter who could do Kingsman stuff. And
Yeah.
but then also in other moments in this movie, they change the fights too. Like they definitely had plenty of, as you would call it, gun kata,
Yeah, but not
but it wasn't
not
in
in a way that
every
I
fight. Like it wasn't
but also in a
consistent.
way that I didn't quite like enjoy it, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Again, because I think it's the world that we're set up. Like over time, I got used to it, but like it's just it. My problem with it was that like it was just that like the Gankata and everything else that's in it and stuff. Like it feels like it starts to break reality because we also get sequences where she does spy shit,
Hmm.
like straight up spy shit, um, like montages of spy shit.
Hmm. It shows how incredibly clever she is and how efficient she is at assassinating. And yeah.
But then we get the fights, and it's a bunch of stormtroopers. That's my other problem with it. Like, you can't make Spetsnaz troops look and shoot like stormtroopers
I didn't get
because of
like she does have some plot armor, yes, where she gets missed a lot. I'm especially thinking of I'm gonna call it an embassy. I know it's not an embassy, but um
oh yeah,
mhm.
the base
Yeah.
place.
I'm
Yeah.
especially thinking of that sequence.
Yeah, 100%. That was the most plot armor I've ever seen. And I watched Fast and Furious. Um, because at least they call out the plot armor,
Hmm.
okay? Which makes it
And it
funny.
only took them 9 movies, but
Yeah, but like like that was the scene that they're like, hey, we know.
is it technically 10 movies?
We don't talk about that because that's an entire different movie.
I mean, it's still in
Um,
the franchise.
but it's side franchise. It's the side piece that you go to and you're like, I like you too. But you're not the main. You're not the main course. It's your
Just
appetizer. It's your appetizer.
I see, I see.
You get a warm up after 8 to watch Hobbs and Shaw. Anyways, um, yeah, I mean, dude, like the amount of times, like I at least wanted her to get hit a couple times, like in those fights, because like comparing it to John Wick, John gets damaged, like legit damage,
Yeah, at the most we see her walking away and she's like limping a little bit.
with a couple bruises.
Yeah.
John has flesh wounds.
Hmm.
Like, and in other movies that have plot armor, it's like established that there's kind of that thing there in its own way.
Yeah.
But like to compare it to Marvel movies, like Marvel movies have plot armor, but because you understand that they're kind of in a different reality, like a comic book reality. Like you understand that like you understand that the movie has to movie to a certain degree.
Hmm.
And I don't normally complain about plot armor. Hell, I even defended Rey when she first came out. Um, I still will on a level.
I mean,
After
they
and
explain it better, but
God, no, they don't. I preferred the herd being a fucking nobody. Okay, better that
but
way.
they're
I
a
don't. We
Dia,
aren't gonna
whatever.
get into it. We are gonna get into it right now because I will get angry again.
You're already angry.
I am.
That's my
I mean, I'm
secret.
not angry. I'm just kind of disappointed. Um,
Okay, Dad.
thank you. No, I am kind of disappointed in this movie because, like, it felt so broken up with the time. The action felt weird. Acting was good. I will say that. I liked everyone's acting in
Mhm.
this. I thought everyone was really good. Because you had let me go to the
I was
right
about to say it was
movie.
nice to see Helen Mirren.
Yes, Helen Mirren's always great though. Like she's a treat. You got Luke Evans, you got Sasha Luss as Anna, Killian Murphy, which I did not expect to see
Yeah,
in this
he
movie.
was the odd one for me. Like out of all of the American actors that he could have chosen to play American CIA guy, he didn't even pick an American actor. I don't.
No, Killian is British, if I
Yeah,
remember correctly.
he's Irish.
Irish. Sorry, my bad.
So
I don't mean to insult.
I
Um,
just looked that up. Yeah, Irish actor Killian Murphy. It like it's kind of funny, but he was the one that stuck out the most to me. Um, let's see. I
but they
would,
were all great in my
yeah,
opinion.
everyone
Like
was
all
great.
four of them was fantastic.
Absolutely, they all held the movie together very well. However, speaking of like actors and actresses, I want to talk about Sasha Luss only because I'm pretty sure we got to see in this movie like 98% of her body. And I feel like that's part of the commentary that Luc Besson is trying to like bring up. Like he's trying to talk about how women are strong and powerful no matter what they wear. But I feel like sometimes we don't need to see her uh we don't need to see her in skin tight dominatrix outfits where when she reloads her pistol you could also see the pores of her bikini wax. Um I don't think we have to see her bare breasts. I don't think we have to constantly see her butt. Like, it's not pervasive and it's not a constant thing that like happens in this movie. Like it's not like a slasher film where they are just like boobs for boobs. But um I wonder why they had to show so much of her.
Couldn't tell you.
Like, especially the sequence that I can think of because they used this shot twice in the film. It's where she's in the bathroom and she's reloading a handgun in the dominatrix outfit, and they show a very good close up of her bikini wax and the handgun in her hand. The focus is the handgun, but the background is definitely a lot of flesh that I don't normally see in a movie in theaters.
Yeah, and like for me as well, like the whole reason I don't have a body count thing on this is because it's tough to find the body count thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't do my B to B ratio because it shows up randomly halfway through the fucking film.
Mm-hmm.
The first time I'm like, wait, during a photo shoot.
Yeah, and also during like she for some reason, anytime this character gets emotional, has to do a violent sex session. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't make sense to me. I mean, I understand that this is not a US movie, so they're more okay with sexuality than they are with violence. But it just seems weird to me that this character is very heavily sexualized. And sure, it's to prove a point that women are strong and to be feared. Maybe. But I don't get that by the end of the film. That's not the moral of the movie.
Yeah, it's not exactly what I'd take away either. I honestly it feels like almost, and this is going to sound a little weird, but it feels, at least to me by the end, it felt like it portrayed that while also portraying if you're like, I don't know what I'm trying to say. It's just, it wasn't, it didn't do what I think it set out to do.
Mm-hmm. And then, I guess, like I don't like that they had to do constant jumps just to keep us, the audience, out of the loop, just so they could have certain conversations and certain plans. But similarly though, one thing that I want to talk about is in this movie, does Anna have character development? Because I feel like the answer is no. Like she has a journey where all she wants is to be free and have her own choice of will.
I think, yes, there is, because she learns how to acquire that herself instead of using other people for it.
But she uses other people, kind of. Well, yes and no.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I guess she learns to obtain her goal through people and not because of people, if that makes sense.
Like, she's not important because her father was in the Navy. She's important.
She's not important because she's with so-and-so, or she's not important because she's working with so-and-so. She's important because she's important to herself. So that's kind of more, and she learns to become self-reliant.
Okay. Because every other movie that I've seen where the main character barely develops as a character, like nothing about their characteristics majorly change, those movies usually end with the main character dying. And this defies expectations. Like, it's one of those moments where I feel like, because I've seen a bunch of movies where it's like, yes, I'm the strong female character, I'm the one that they tell you to worry about in The Devil Wears Prada, because I'm the strong fashion designer who takes nothing from nobody, and I finally am rich and have made my success story, and the movie ends with me dying. Like, that's how a lot.
Spoilers.
That's not how The Devil Wore Prada ends.
No, it's not relative. No, we don't know. We haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, I have no idea. So
I've only seen a scene of it, and it made me laugh.
it was interesting to say the least. But yeah, this movie.
No, we're gonna review that.
At some point,
Anyways,
yeah, with Lady in the Tramp. I'm just kidding.
no, we know what we're doing it with.
But words.
Yeah,
hard.
I mean, yeah, I'm not saying it's like huge character development. I'm just saying it's there.
Mm-hmm.
Is it? It's not the strongest.
Yeah, this isn't a character movie. It's more of a plot movie. And even then, the plot in this movie is mostly action, and it's action that is strange, kind of. Like, it's intense, but it just feels a little out of place.
Yep, that's a good way of putting it.
And I wanted to be that person who came onto the podcast today to be like, this Luke Besson guy, I'm not sure about him as a director, but he has made a lot of great films. It's just that the movies that we've seen of him recently,
Which ones have we seen?
We've seen Lucy, and we have seen.
Actually, I haven't watched that yet.
You haven't seen Lucy?
No.
Oh, well, I've watched Lucy, and we've also watched Fifth Element. He directed that.
Oh, he did Fifth Element?
I think so. Yeah, I believe so. Or am I going crazy?
I think you're going crazy. There's no way.
I'm on the wrong tab here. Writers, directors. The Fifth Element. Yep, in 1997.
What?
Yeah. So he directed this. He's written other movies too. Like they've announced Lucy 2. Let's see. He did. I know this movie was very low reviewed, but it was Valerian in the City of 1,000 Planets.
Yeah.
That was supposed to be it was supposed to be a good movie, but then ended up not being. He wrote the Taken movies, Taken 1, 2, and 3. He wrote the Transporter movies. Like he has got some great resume.
He's got some hits and some misses. Okay.
Yeah. So this one is just very middling for me. And a lot of the movies when he first started were like French only films.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, still doesn't change my opinion.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to be like I said, I wanted to be the person.
Wait,
like, wow,
he did The Professional?
Sucks. Yes, he did.
What the fuck? That's such a great movie.
I think that one's the one where he was the writer, right?
No, he's director and writer.
Oh yeah, Leon the Professional. Yeah.
Holy shit! Really? He did? Oh my god, that's such a fucking great movie.
I remember this movie. Yeah, I've seen this now. I had to remember the picture. It was a great. He has some good stuff, but this one, for me, was not one of them. I feel like he went very hard into trying to make a grittier action sequence over and over and over again. I think that was the main purpose, and it just didn't quite land.
I can agree to that. Funny enough, though, did you notice we had two Shaws in this movie?
Yes, we had Helen Mirren as Lady Shaw, and then we had Brother Shaw
as what? It's because it's god damn it, it's my brain's just fried lately.
It's not Deckard.
It's not Deckard. I was trying to remember. It's Deckard Shaw and
Evan Shaw. I'm gonna click on his name.
Owen Shaw.
Is he passing? Owen Shaw, yeah. Funny, and there's a video short called Fast and Furious Supercharged. where he's only called Shaw.
Yeah, because we didn't. I mean, we didn't know there would be a brother until the end of the movie. All right.
He also played Gaston in
Yes, he did.
and he's
Unfortunately, we don't get a Marvel connection.
I was about to say he's also a Marvel movie.
No, he's not. Not yet. Anyways,
Mhm.
he's probably going to be in a Marvel movie. Luke Evans. I'd place money on him making it into Marvel at some point.
Probably, yeah.
Um, yeah.
Yeah,
I ain't got much else.
Yeah, I've got nothing else here really. The only other complaint I might have is like at least with the John Wick action, it was all done in minimal amounts of cuts. This one pretty much cuts for every swing and hit.
Jason Bourne's it.
Yeah, so
And, like,
it's a mixture.
Time has not been kind to Bourne.
So I remember watching the Jason Bourne movies when they first came out, and I was unimpressed. But then again, I was also like 14 to 18 that age area.
I loved them, but like rewatching them now, I'm kind of like, that action. I see better action now. I've been spoiled with good action movies.
There are some great action movies. Yeah, especially now because a lot of like action directors used to be stunt doubles. So
Yeah. Or you have like your lead stunt double being your action director part and being able to, like doing their set pieces and stuff. Like if you're doing a Marvel movie, you have like your director and then you have like your essentially action director. Like your writers and directors room will go like, hey, this is kind of the idea we're having for a set piece. How are we gonna make that happen? And then the stunt guys are like, piece of cake. Let's go. And then they do the shit. They map it out and all that, and it's fucking awesome. I love watching those behind the scenes for stunts and stuff like that, where they like have the cardboard box setups and everything. Oh, I love it. I absolutely love that shit. And you like do the frame by frame occasionally. You pop up the original and then transition back. It's so fucking cool. Anyways, I'm gushing about action because I love action movies. And this one just didn't hit right for me. So unfortunately,
I do have one last question. What did you think of the actress who played Maud, the girlfriend from the modeling agency? Because this was her first ever movie role. So tell that she was a novice to the big screen.
I mean, she wasn't in it enough to really know. If that makes sense. I didn't find one way or the other whether or not she was a good actress or not because like her character's just kind of there. I think she's fine for the role she's given.
Okay, that's all you need to say.
There's not like there's just not much of a role there. So
you don't think that every moment matters? I'm just kidding.
I mean, they do, but like in a sense, like this is more in the sense of like there's not enough there for us to really understand her as an actress, like there is with Sasha Luss or Helen Mirren or Luke Evans. When they're acting, we don't have like enough there to really critique one way or the other.
All right, that's all I wanted to know.
All right.
Okay, so I mean, here's your popcorn kernels. How many are you gonna give to Anna?
I'm giving it just a flat 5.
Flat 5, just solid middle of the road.
Flat 5, solid middle of the road. Oh. It exists.
Yeah, I can agree with that. That's how I was gonna put it too, actually.
I knew it. I predicted this. This is another one of those ones where I'm like, me and Steven are going to be in complete agreement on this. It's just middle of the road.
All right. So, sorry, that was my yawn because this movie was boring. I'm just kidding. Don't do it, or else we'll get VOD muted.
Okay, fine. Marvel time!
That's fine.
Our Marvel connection of the week.
God, fuck.
I can't help it. I waited a year, Steven. Let me have my moment. Okay, we're gonna start out with the critique, okay, of Black Widow.
Okay.
Which was released July 4th weekend. No, what weekend is it? Oh, God, sorry. July 9th, 2021. With a opening and current gross US and Canada weekend. Um, Opening weekend, sorry, for US and Canada. And we're reviewing this the weekend after, so this is all the info we have so far. We don't have an estimated budget right now. $80 million, which is pretty damn good opening weekend. With a gross worldwide so far at 158 million. So that's a strong outing for Marvel coming back. I don't think it's as good as like what I think Fast 9 did. I think Fast 9 had a better opening weekend, but I'm going to start with the one critique as to why I think that is. This movie came out too late.
100%.
This isn't a bad movie, and I thoroughly enjoyed myself, but it came out, this needed to come out after Civil War. Like, there's no two ways about it. Why they waited this long for this movie is beyond me.
But the thing that bugs me in a way too is why was her movie not put before Captain Marvel's?
Oh, same. This movie came out in the wrong time. Also, there's a better movie talked about in this movie. Now, again, I'm not saying this is a bad movie. It's actually really enjoyable. But they're like, they keep bringing up Budapest. And like, just give us Budapest, please.
I'm kind of happy that they didn't, though. I don't need to know everything about a character's backstory.
Yeah, but like,
they gave us enough.
But would you rather have seen that movie instead of this movie?
Probably yes.
And then maybe got this movie down the road. Guess what, people? We should have had 2 Black Widow movies.
I mean, even then,
earlier in the franchise.
Even that, you have less complaints than I do because I have a good couple of complaints with this.
That's fair. I mean, I'm not saying there aren't other complaints I have. I have a lot of praise for this movie though because like the cast is phenomenal in this.
I mean,
yes, but no, the cast is phenomenal in this. All right, because I mean, you got ScarJo, and she's Black Widow, but she's not, weirdly enough, as relevant to this movie, despite it being Black Widow, as like Florence Pugh. She is hilarious. As Yelena, she is great. I adore her character and I adore her acting in this. David Harbour is great as Red Guardian, and Rachel Weisz is great as Melania.
Yeah,
Melanie.
They're all great actors and actresses. Yes,
they kill their roles. If you had any hesitation about them in their roles, don't. They do kill it. I don't think there's jokes with those characters that don't land for the most part. I can't think of any offhand that I can remember because for the most part, they all pretty well land. Especially Red Guardian. I fucking loved Red Guardian in this.
Of course.
Listen, it's great.
I like Red Guardian is a funny character, but I feel like he's also the one that was the most disappointing to me because he is the one that they constantly take out of the film. Like, he's the one that they're like, he's too overpowered, so we have to neutralize him to make Black Widow the main character of the movie. And
yeah.
And even then too, like his character development by the end, his whole thing is like his whole story as a character is like, yes, I have been a terrible father figure, so let me try to be better for you now. But by the end of the movie, he's like, I got nothing to say. I'm just bad at words. Respect. Okay, bye. Like, that's not character development. It's
just understanding he sucks at it, so he's gonna,
that's not perplexing to me. That's not what I'm there for. And like
Steven,
and like I love the character dynamic between Yelena and Natasha. That was fine. I loved the Yelena, and it was great. The interaction between the two and the chemistry and the funny jokes and
they're great together.
Yeah, it was.
I wish we would have. You know what? They should like. This also raises questions of like, why weren't they involved in certain events of the past?
We'll talk about that in spoilers. Because there's a lot of stuff that brings questions to mind for me.
This is in my opinion, and not for like this is the biggest misstep Marvel has made. is missing the opportunity to make this movie when they should have.
I mean,
Like
yeah.
because it breaks so much shit.
I mean, you're not wrong. When I that's another part of the reason why I talked about Defy Expectations, because, like I said with Anna, we know how her fate ends. We know what happens to Scarlett Johansson and how her fate ends by the end of the movie, especially because the movie reminds us later on. So, we know how her story ends. So the spot in between here has to be something that has to be spectacular enough to tell a story out of. Or else what's the point? Like, why bring us back to this instance? And
Which is why, again, I say, if we were gonna do a Black Widow movie, Budapest would have been it.
probably would have been a better choice, yes.
Because if we're going to the past, that's the one that makes most sense. Because you would have Hawkeye in it as well,
Mm-hmm.
who is you would have the start of their relationship together.
Yeah. But I still think they gave us enough with Budapest. Like information
they
in this
gave us enough information now that we don't need the movie, but like I think
we can kind of tell everything we need at this point. Like,
yes, no, and I'm not saying like we need it now. I'm more saying that like we needed it before this.
that makes, like, I still say no. I don't want a Budapest movie at all, because then you're reigning too close to Solo for me, where everything that's interesting about a character happened in one night.
A little bit.
Not yes and no. Like, I feel like this is a better approach than Solo is, because at least has the same actress. But
fair. I guess my problem with it, like, and again, I'm gonna give this movie a lot higher rating than what it sounds like I am.
yes, you are.
Yeah, 100%. Because I do. There's a lot that I love. I love the acting. I love the comedy. I love the action. Like when I go into a Marvel movie, the things I expect are good acting, good comedy, good action, and a plot that is coherent enough to be a movie.
But the plot's last thing. You don't care about it as long as the spectacle's there.
Kinda. As like the plot needs to still make sense by the end of the movie. Okay. Because if it doesn't, then like, what was the point of the movie? And for me, I think my problem with this is that this movie, because the plot takes place when it does, we don't need this information.
Oh, hang on one second.
It doesn't build. Uh-oh.
Hello?
Hello?
Accidentally hit the button. Because this movie does what it does.
It doesn't set up, like, because like something I expect also with a Marvel movie is sprinkles of like some decent setup for future stuff. Okay. And it kind of does that, but not in a way that's going to be something that like I've wanted from the franchise.
Yeah, this movie,
there's only one setup bit for something that I know is coming, and it was kind of in a way that I'm like, oh, okay, this makes sense.
Yeah, this movie is 100% its own side story. There is no connection to anything else Marvel related other than Lieutenant Colonel, whatever the rank he is, Ross. And even then, he's in this movie for 3 minutes. So that's the only thing that connects this movie, other than Black Widow, to the other Marvel movies. So this movie stands alone in its own little time capsule. And like as kind of like how you were saying, and kind of how I had mentioned earlier, it should have been at a different time. I see this more of like a early phase 3, late phase 2 movie.
I 100% agree with you on that.
And like it's totally it's okay, but
I do think the action contends with the upper echelon of Marvel with the action set pieces.
I'd say for the most part, yeah.
But the story and like reasoning for the movie is a like early phase 3.
Like the whole point of this, from what I can essentially tell, they made this movie so we can better understand the decisions of Natasha Romanoff and why she does her stuff, like how she ends up to be the person she is, and blah 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 blah. but I don't feel like the lesson we learned was a hard lesson for her to learn. Like, her whole thing is about family, kind of like Fast 9. It's all about being with your family and being with people who are there to help you. And it feels super muddled to me, especially because when we get to the end, like I said, with like how the dad says, "Yep, we got respect," and that's it. Like, that's a very neutral ending where like it feels like there's no progress that happened, except there kind of is, because it's at least they're holding a better conversation than they were earlier in the film. And same with the relationship between Natasha and Yelena, because there's kind of that back and forth siblingness that's going on, but at the same time there isn't. And there's also the relationship with Mason, the fetcher, as I like to call him.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
there's these.
Who I want to see more of, by the way.
Yeah,
I thought he was great.
He's a great character.
I would love to see him in whatever series we get next from Marvel after What If. So probably Hawkeye. I would like to see him in Hawkeye. It would make sense to have him in Hawkeye.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, um, like I overall though with this movie, I feel like my biggest complaint is the character development. The action was fine. I loved the stuff that we saw.
I agree with you.
I like what they did with how they set up the set pieces too, because like I said, they had to make it this a big enough spectacle for it to be important for us to actually be here to see this. If
And dude, some of those set pieces are 100% that.
my favorite moment probably has to be right um right after the nose thing.
Oh my god, dude, that was awesome, by the way. Like, holy shit.
I mean,
that came out of nowhere to me.
It's awesome, but not that it comes out of nowhere, because that's one of those moments that the audience doesn't know about. The character knows about, but the audience, that's what they do with that Mission Impossible thing. But
yeah, but like that's fine by me with this one, because like it's such a fucking knee-jerk reaction that you get out of it, because like she says the line and then she does the thing and you're like, oh shit.
But my problem is also in that moment as well, because the reason why they do it is they talk about severing a nerve, but they talk about the specific nerve that they're supposed to sever. She's like, you have to, in the conversation, they tap on Black Widow's forehead and they're like, you have to sever the nerve. Yet breaking her nose down here is enough to sever the nerve. Goes like... But it's the oral factory nerve, to the point where even inhalation through the mouth is enough to cause the problem that it causes. But she could break her nose and be fine.
We're revealing a lot here.
I barely revealed anything.
I know, but we're getting into like one of the best moments a little bit, and that's my fault. I'm sorry.
Like I'm not getting
disgusting though.
Yeah.
The fight after,
that fight is amazing.
My favorite part too.
It
100%.
My only complaint with that fight is the freaking red laser wire that they have portraying through the scenery that sometimes gets in the lens.
That should have just been a screen.
Yes. That should have been done not on, like, practically. It should have been done digitally through VFX, I feel. That would have been better. Because
I could agree with that too.
At least that, because the lighting in the room on the lens and the camera, I didn't like it. But I still liked the fight. That was awesome. I also liked almost every instance that we had with Taskmaster.
Right?
Those
were
great.
Okay, I didn't even notice it, but there's a scene where he because Taskmaster's thing is that he mimics.
He's a mimic.
Did you catch his rope swing move?
Rope swing
in his first fight?
I did not, actually.
If you see this again when it's on Blu-ray and stuff like that, pay attention to it, because he kicks and moves like the webhead.
Okay. I was about to say, just say which character.
That is it's so like I had someone point it out. I'm like, oh, he did, because
Hmm.
he does the kick move
Yeah.
that he does this and then does the land,
Hmm.
and I'm like, oh yeah, that is that.
Yeah, like
Like there's just little moves like that that I'm like,
throughout
ooh,
the entire movie, yeah, you have to watch carefully, and you'll see almost every hero in there. Like my favorite one that I think I spotted was the Winter Soldier like knife twirl before he stabs, where he like the
yes,
yeah
yes.
yeah, and I loved the like just the Hawkeye physique with the bow, like.
It's good. It's cool.
Though I kind of wish, however, we got to see more Steve Rogers style, because the Steve Rogers character is kind of the most important name that we get, because it relates to Natasha and it
It
relates
relates to
to
Red Guardian.
Alexi, yeah. So those are kind of,
I agree. And we should have had more of that of Red Guardian's moment.
yes. Red Guardian, like he
And
was
a better payoff to that.
100%. I would have at least loved to have seen more of his fight with Taskmaster,
Yes,
because
100%.
that was all off screen.
That's what I wanted to see more of. And I would have liked to seen a moment with him with
Hmm.
them having a back and forth involving the shield.
Hmm.
That would have been great.
Yes, though the resolution of Taskmaster at the end of the movie, I think, is my biggest letdown with this whole film, because it's not the answer I thought they'd have.
In spoilers, I can talk to
Yes.
you a little bit more about where that might go. But I can agree. It depends on how they use it going forward.
Hmm.
Is how I'll say it for right now.
Yeah, but all the questions I have now are what they do going forward. These are stuff that I can't talk about until we get the spoilers. But by the end of the movie, it just asks more questions. So
I might have some answers depending on what your questions are.
well, we'll see. We'll get there. But even then, even if you have answers, is if they don't come from the movie, they're not answers to me. If they come from the comic book, they don't count.
I guess that's fair. I have ideas of where the direction they might go is.
Because that's
that doesn't mean I'm right. It's just what I'm theorizing, and I like giving my theories because sometimes I'm right, sometimes I'm wrong, and I don't mind either way.
That's part that's part of the
Loki beat every one of my fucking theories, and yet you came out of the fucking gate, and right now your theory is looking more and more true, and we're gonna find out this week.
It's kind of funny because you're leaning more and more into my theory, and I'm starting to lean away from it. But
that's why I threw out my last theory. Because what if we are both right? Our original theory. Because we originally we've swapped theories.
Kind of, yeah.
I was on this side, you were that, and then as time's gone on, we're like, maybe they were right. And we can maybe talk about that in a little bit too.
Yeah.
But this movie, I mean, again, it's not a bad movie, and like if you've missed Marvel in theaters, go watch this because it is a Marvel movie in theaters. Like it's what you want.
So I do think though one of the coolest moments in this film was ruined in the trailer with the building.
Yeah, a little bit, but I'm willing to forgive.
Of course you are.
I am, Steven, because we got like 3 other movies coming out this year that'll like all be really
and I'm gonna be a cynic for all of them.
I don't think you'll be a cynic for Eternals. I'm gonna straight up say that.
That's actually the one that I know the least about.
Same. I know nothing about the Eternals actually. Like, and I'm not doing any research for the first time in my life, like looking into it outside of the occasional thing that like literally pops up in a thread on Instagram where it's like so and so, and I like watch 2 seconds. I'm gonna scroll because I don't want to know too much about it. This is the first time since Guardians that I'm going into something with minimal information for Marvel, and I can't wait. Shang-Chi's another one that I don't know a ton about, but I know enough about. Like we've got some cool ones that'll bring some new stuff to the franchise, and I'm really looking forward to it. Anyways, So, do we want
Trying to
to? Do
think.
you want your popcorn?
Um, I feel like there's something else I wanted to talk about, but
What did you think of the? So, because this one, the post credit, mid credit is a little weird in this one. Because we get a. Because this is one of the few Marvel movies that has its credits at the beginning. It's like montage credits.
kind of. Yeah.
It does the thing that would be at the end, and then you would get your mid-credit roll, and then you would get your credits, and then you would get your end credit roll. But it opens, and I did like that, by the way. Hearing some like redone, remixed or covered Nirvana music is always something that I adore.
I mean, I like that they at least use that intro as a moment in the movie, like where they're like, "Yeah, I remember this from when I was a child, and we did all yeah."
Yeah. But it did make because the mid credit stinger is a little weird because it's not mid credit. It's where the mid credit would be if the credit was like at the end, if the opening credit was at the end, if that makes sense.
So okay, now I guess I might be confused. How many end credit sequences are there?
There's one, but there would have been the what I'm considering the
So-
mid credit is that the scene where her and the fetcher talk. That would have been our mid credits.
Okay,
If that makes sense.
Yeah, that's why I was confused. I still consider that the end of the film. So.
It's the end of the film technically, but if we had like the visual credit that we always get with Marvel
Mm-hmm.
at the end instead of the beginning with this one, that's when we would have had that.
Mm-hmm. But yeah,
Which I'm cool with them switching it up. By the way,
yeah, the way this is portrayed, that was the ending of this movie.
yes.
So that's why I was really confused there for a second, because there is no mid-credit sequence. There's the end of the film,
I was trying
and
to
then there's
explain
the
that. I was
end
trying to
credit
get to
sequence.
Yes. But that would have been like that in my head is kind of a mid-credit stinger, which is also where what it does. I feel like I don't know if we needed that scene.
No, because it asks. I have a shit ton of questions because of it. So
Yeah.
I guess popcorn kernels at this point.
All right, popcorn and then list.
Yeah, well, I wasn't gonna do list today. I wasn't thinking about that.
Oh well, I have it.
Of course
so.
you do. I'll just have to pull it up here.
No, we don't have to pull it up.
I was about to say, you're the one who's more excited about this. I'm just like, let's get this over with, because I have to do another 3 of these Marvel movies this year. Great.
Okay. I'm sorry. My God, you act like it's a fucking tragedy.
Sometimes it is.
Here's your fucking popcorn.
Thank you. My popcorn. I give this movie a 7.
Fucking predicted it. Also, LaBelle, thank you for the bits. I predicted it. I love just clicking the button as you're right before you speak to just get my last guess in. I guessed a 7, and I'm putting an 8, so 7.5. And I'm cool. I'm cool with this being a 7.5. It's middle of the because what the scale is meh. All right. For Marvel movies. For Marvel movies, the scale of gasp and S. So I'm cool with that. All right. I'm gonna make this as quick as possible. So we have 23 and we're adding the 24th right now. So starting from the bottom, going to the top. Thor Dark World 20 as number 23, number 22, Incredible Hulk, number 21, Thor, number 19, number 20, Iron Man 2, number 19, Iron Man 3, number 18, Avengers Age of Ultron, number 17, Captain America First Avenger, number 16, Captain Marvel, number 17, Ant-Man, number 14, Ant-Man and the Wasp, number 13, The Avengers, number 12, Iron Man, number 11, Guardians of the Galaxy, number 10, Captain America and the Winter Soldier, number 9, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, number 8, Doctor Strange, number 7, Spider-Man Homecoming, number 6, Black Panther, number 5, Spider-Man Far From Home, number 4, Thor Ragnarok, number 3, Avengers Infinity War, number 2, Captain America Civil War, number 1, Avengers Endgame.
In the future, because I in the future, I think we should not list everyone just because it's gonna get longer and longer. So we'll only list them all at the end. I think that's the best way to. Once we place where we're gonna put the new movie.
Well, I think I would rather reverse it because then people know where on the list it would be, and we just read off kind of what it's near.
We'll figure that out later.
Okay, we can work on that. All right, I'm kind of torn because like there are parts of this that I like better than like Black Panther, but there are parts of this that I like less than like Doctor Strange and Winter Soldier.
Yeah, for me, I don't think this is breaking top 10, personally.
I can agree to that. I guess the question then is, let's start from here. Is it better than Ant-Man?
Ant-Man.
That if it's not better than Ant-Man, I would say it's better than Captain Marvel.
I would say so too, yeah. Well, Ant-Man. You know, that's really tough because Paul Rudd is really
Right?
enjoyable.
Like I think this is where it's gonna fight. Okay, I'm willing. Like Ant-Man is on. I would say these two are probably on the same par because Ant-Man's really good, Black Widow's really good, but they aren't the strongest of the franchise.
Yeah, like Black Widow, I think has a better action, better set pieces. Um, maybe
But we
not
did get Thomas the Train
that
fight.
that's why I love Ant-Man. Like Ant-Man has great action sequences, but they're not super impactful, you know.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah,
But
because I personally don't see this being above Ant-Man and the Wasp in
I don't
retrospect.
either.
But
Like
I don't see this being below Captain Marvel. So the fight is literally, is it
it's
15 or 16?
yeah. Hmm. That's honestly a tough choice.
Because this could swing. I feel like this would swing depending on what you want more.
Yeah, any
Personally,
day.
all right. I think for me, I think I like the crime thriller more than I like this spy thriller with this one. I like because
I love the side characters and the dynamics that we have with like I think Ant-Man's better.
okay, all right, I'm cool with this going 16.
Yeah.
It's still a strong position in my opinion. It's in like the upper the mid 6 now, or the yeah, oh no, it's in the it's in the 3/4 section because you have the 1/4, the 2/4, 3/4, um, and the fourth. It's not in the it's definitely not bottom tier. Um, it edges out into, and not to say the bottom tier is bad because like we for some reason have Captain America the First Avenger as the top of the bottom tier. That movie is far better, and I will still stand by this. Anyways.
um so the Bell brought up an interesting question that I had a thought about. You think Marvel is slowly losing their touch with their movies? I'm gonna say no. People
No.
are right now just disappointed because the last movie we had was Thanos and the Infinity Stones and galactic wide stakes and 20
The
years
last
of
one was
movie.
Spider-Man,
well,
actually.
Yeah,
No, wait.
it was still like
Or
20 years in the making and the backlash of the blip and whatnot. Like,
yes, 100%.
and this movie
But
was very small.
well, I think Marvel fans expected it to be a small movie.
Yeah.
But I think part of the problem that Marvel fans, include like myself, and I've heard it from so many people that I've like looked at a few different like places. The problem people are having is that it should have released sooner. We should have had this movie during Phase 3.
Like, my ultimate thing that I worry about actually is, and we could talk about this later, of course, too. I actually worry about the longevity now of the MCU, only because I think about it like this. I imagine, what if tomorrow I had a child? that child would probably love to watch movies with me, sure, but they probably wouldn't understand. Um, they probably wouldn't understand everything that's happening in these movies until maybe they hit the age of 8.
Yeah.
So by the
Well,
time they're 8, that means if they're doing what they do normally, release 3 movies every year, there's going to be another 24 films actually before my child is 8 years old. So,
I think they're gonna slow down
yeah,
after this year.
my
I don't
my
see them going like I don't see because I think
but
they have a
either
couple
way,
years where they're only doing 2.
yeah, but either way, the thought still matters. Like there's going to be in 8 years 30 to 40 movies in the MCU where they're all interconnected. And you're going to lose people or they're just not going to hop in because they'll have to feel like they have to know what's going on and they don't want to commit to a 20 film, 30 film investment.
That's when we get a Secret Wars like event,
And reboot
which
everything.
sort of you take some of the old and some of the new is the
Mhm.
best way to put it. Um, Hawkeye's not even getting a movie,
No,
LaBelle, and
he's
I
getting a
do
TV series.
100%. Black Widow should have come out before Endgame. It could have come out like in between Infinity War, anywhere in between Infinity War and Endgame, and it would have fit still. It would have been fine. It could have given Black Widow's like personal motivations more credence in Endgame.
You know what I think
Um,
they should have done? Release Black Widow instead of Captain Marvel and just now release Captain Marvel. Because
I would 100% agree.
we don't need to know who Captain Marvel is for Infinity War or Endgame.
No, we don't. We just need her. We just need to understand that like she shows up because Fury beeped her,
Or even
paged her.
yeah, even that doesn't have to be it. It could be she's flying from one planet to the next and she stumbles across Tony Stark and Tony's like, "Can you take me to Earth?" And then
Well,
they get to Earth and then
I think she still needs to be going back to Earth because the blip happened.
yeah.
Um. Anyways, like to get a little bit back on track, I think the longevity doesn't matter because there will eventually be a reset button that they can hit.
Mm-hmm.
And that reset button is potentially we're going to get a soft relaunch of Marvel here at some point where these movies keep pushing towards what I feel is happening, which is going to be Young Avengers.
Mm-hmm.
Which I'm all for because that is like a soft relaunch of a franchise because you get young blood. You've got some experienced young blood in the teams, but then you're going to get some new ones who can essentially take up some of the roles with strong actors in it. Like the fact we're getting Haley Steinfeld as Kate Bishop in Hawkeye. Like she's a fantastic actress. She's perfect for that role, in my opinion, and she is a key member of Young Avengers.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna get Casey Lang as a superhero from the sounds of it in Ant-Man Quantumania. Like we're going to get these things that set up, and with like Peter Parker still being in high school, you could still set him up and potentially set up Miles in the universe. So you have that started to go. Like you have these things that they're setting up stuff so that the longevity doesn't affect it as much, if that makes sense. Like there are certain things like, yeah, like Thor, you need to watch all the Thors kind of thing. And like
if you were to
Captain,
watch as Guardians of the Galaxy, you need to watch all of the Thors and all of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies and Game and Infinity War.
I mean, I think you only just have to watch Endgame and Infinity War for the Guardians. You don't necessarily have to watch all the Thors to, like, you just know that Thor is now traveling with them. You don't need to know his entire backstory because we don't know everyone else's entire backstories from the team.
That's true.
Don't worry, I can streamline this shit pretty well. Depending on what you care about in this franchise, I got you.
Man, they should have hired you instead of Kevin Feige.
Well, no, I mean in the sense of like movies that have come out, like if depending on what you want to like, characters you care about, you can just watch X movies. I could be on their social media team who does that, like for the shows that they've been releasing, and for the movies doing that. Like, hey, use our Disney Plus subscription to go through these movies before you watch the new one that's connected to. Except for Spider-Man, because Sony owns those.
Oops.
Yeah, I think I think longevity is still gonna be there. Because I think there's gonna be parents, if I become a parent, like I'm gonna be that parent who's gonna be like, I'm gonna start my kid with like the Avengers TV shows, cartoons, so they understand the characters a little bit, and then once they're old enough, because like one thing I know I'm gonna do is I'm gonna prevent them from watching Star Wars for a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
Because I want them to remember the twist. Because I don't remember learning about the twist. It's just always been imprinted in my brain. Like I don't have that memory of the shock.
But I don't think they will have the shock because it's in everyone. Like one day a kid's gonna be like, "No, Dev's child, I am your father," and they'll be like, "I don't get that reference."
Yeah, but they won't know where it comes from.
I think you're living in a fantasy in this instance. But
well, they don't have to interact with a ton of other kids growing up entirely. Like,
they'll live in a bubble.
No, I'm saying like until kindergarten, they're usually like more at home. Like you don't interact with a ton of kids before kindergarten if you're a kid or preschool, whenever. And I doubt preschoolers are going to start saying that shit.
I also don't think that's the age to watch Star Wars if that's when you're going to introduce it to them.
No, I'll introduce to them when they're like 5.
Okay, so still, I don't like. It's the same thing that I talked about. Like,
I still have memories from when I'm 5.
Yeah, but
that would be one of those like, if you had shown me Star Wars, that moment would have stuck with me at 5.
I don't think so, because you don't. Think,
yeah,
I don't think you'd realize the importance of him being his father at that age.
Because there are moments from Phantom Menace that are etched into my brain from growing up, like the fact that like when Darth Maul does the fucking lightsaber moment, I saw that movie when I was 5, sir. Thank you very much.
And you've also seen it 100 times since.
Yes, but I remember seeing it for the first time.
Are you sure it's the first time or the 5th time that you remember? They could all blend together at this point.
Because I remember being like, that's a double lightsaber. What? Because my entire adolescence, we've just had the single saber. And then this movie comes out and we go, and then a fight scene that I've never seen Star Wars ever get close to happens.
That's true. That was the best fight scene that Star Wars ever had at that point.
And like a legit murder.
But if you saw it in theaters, you would have been 4 years old at the point.
I saw it on VHS.
Okay, then you would have been 5 at the point.
Yes. I didn't get to see that in theaters.
But still. I feel like you're mixing emotions now with your emotions back then. That's just kind of how
Why do you always have to do this to me? Why can't I have anything nice? You just always got to pick it apart. You just always go, no, Dev, it's not like this. You can't have that nice thing. Let me have my nice thing.
You say that about everything. Everything's a nice thing.
Yes, because I like nice things. I like having nice memories. And then you're over here, well, was your memory really like this? Was it? Was it really?
You've told yourself this story 5 times. I bet you, Eddie. I'm just kidding. You're changing the facts in your own brain. I don't know how that fits in this conversation.
I mean, I would, if I knew Godzilla's lore better, I would. I have an on-off relationship with Godzilla, not in like a bad way, but more just like lore stuff.
Do you want to get back on topic and head to spoilers?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's get ready to spoiler!
Okay, do you want me to talk about Taskmaster real quick? Or where do you want to start?
I was about to say, I don't know. I don't have any problems. My problem with Taskmaster is how they solve the fight.
Yes.
Because the way it's explained to us is Taskmaster, spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen the movie, that's why we're in the spoiler section. Be wary.
That's why I said it.
Yeah. And
that's why we hit the
Let's get ready
button.
to spoiler!
Yeah. So we actually have a live audience here, so I felt like I should warn them this time.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, that's why we hit the button.
Yeah, I know. But some people don't listen. We have Frankie in our lives. We know people don't listen.
You don't listen!
Exactly. and I'm the host of the show. So, with Taskmaster, in this instance, Taskmaster is a woman who was the victim of a bombing caused by Black Widow when she was trying to defect from the Red Room and join the Avengers and join SHIELD. Back in Budapest.
Well, she was going to, she was going to join SHIELD.
Yeah.
She was defecting because she wanted out.
Yeah. So, back in Budapest, so that's the story. Budapest was her escaping the Red Room and joining SHIELD.
It was her destroying the Red Room.
Yes. Or at least so she thought. And the way she did it was she set up bombs that destroyed the building that the Red Room was in, killing, or so she thought, killing the bad guy Ziefler. I don't remember his name. I have to find which one it was.
Drakov.
That's what it was. I thought it was like Ziffler or something. Yeah. They have to kill Drakov. So she bombs the building with Drakov in it, so she assumes. And the reason she knows Drakov is in it is because Drakov's daughter walks in to visit him while he's in the... So they blow up the building. And since that day, Natasha has had grief and guilt for killing the girl because she remembers being that young girl who had no choice and doesn't want to inflict that on anybody else. Fast forward 20 some odd years later, that girl has grown up to become Taskmaster, who's being controlled, as we are told, via a chip in the back of her head.
And the pheromones.
As we weren't told about we're told about the pheromones from him.
I think we are...
It's implied.
It's
inferred. But then my complaint is, if she has both the biochemical brainwashing that all of the other widows are under, and the chip in the back of her head, why is just the chemical fix everything?
The chip is there so that she can, like, function.
Mm-hmm.
That's what that I got from the conversation. It was him saying, like, I put the chip in her because she was broken without it.
Mm-hmm.
Like that. Like, essentially, I look at it like, I don't know if you watched the Arrowverse at all.
It's just the way they explained it in the film. It makes it feel like the chip is the only reason why she's there.
I agree with you there. It confused me for a moment, but then I re-understood it because a little bit because of the Arrowverse. Spoilers for the Arrowverse, but Felicity eventually like gets paralyzed from the waist down. She gets oracled a little bit from an incident. I can't remember exactly what happened. It's been a bit since I've like dived
Batman
in the
stuff.
Arrowverse.
No, yeah.
Arrow stuff.
But I know, but it's Batman's story arc.
I think you're
Green
right.
Arrow was a better Batman than Batman was, so everyone knows this.
Depending. But she makes a chip. Her and Mr. Terrific make a chip so that she can walk again. And like there are times where like EMPs and stuff go off, so she can't move and stuff like that way. So that's that. It took me knowing that information like from other like chip based like injuries to like piece that together.
Yeah, it's
which is something that we are actually working on.
Yeah,
and stuff.
they take the electrical signals from your brain, put it into a chip, and then have a second chip repeat the signals to the points that can't get it anymore.
Yeah.
So like I understand the science behind it.
Yes. But I don't think that was the mind control.
Yeah, it's just that's how they kind of talk about it in the film. Yes. So that's why I have an issue with it. I wasn't confused by it, but I was like,
okay,
well,
fair.
I was. I said I was, but the confusion is the issue in itself. Like, why they should have established a little bit more that she was also under the chemical mind control.
Yes. They should have had literally Natasha going like asking and the like. I know it might have been silly, but like ask him being like, so he like you brainwashed her with the chip? Like no.
Yeah, even something like instead of asking, can she hear me? It should have been, so you're controlling her too?
Yeah, something to like go at him for.
Yeah.
My problem with Taskmaster as well is something that's the setup for Taskmaster. I'm hoping that they actually use this going forward, but I'm afraid they might not. Is the Taskmaster technology. I think that is a perfect way to implement Taskmaster into this universe. Instead of just being someone who has the ability to read other people's stuff, it makes sense to have a supercomputer mask that literally watches it happen and teaches you how to do it. Like that, I think is awesome.
So
that is a great way to
androids. That one, androids, aliens, and
Yes.
wizards. You want the androids?
Kinda. Like, I would love to see that. I want to see Taskmaster come back. It doesn't have to be the same person. I would love to see someone take up it and actually talk as Taskmaster and stuff like that. Because I'm sorry, I want to see Taskmaster versus Deadpool. That is something I have, like, since Ryan Reynolds has become Deadpool, and now that we had Taskmaster, I want to see like have Taskmaster like show up in like a couple other movies as like our the Frog, the dude who's shown up in Avengers, no, in Winter Soldier. He showed up in I think a different one, and then he showed up in Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Okay.
The dude who wears the purple and orange. The guy who puts the shield away in Winter Soldier and fights straight up, and the dude does like kicks and stuff like that mostly.
Yeah.
And the guy who
I don't
in
know
Winter
his name.
Soldier,
I
yeah.
know who you're talking about. I just don't know his
Okay,
name.
I'm just trying to. I'm sorry, I'm rambling to try to remember his name, but I don't.
Yeah, so move on.
Sorry. I would love Taskmaster to be something that shows up a few times and like gets away because he understands how to fight them
Mhm.
and says that shit. And then when Deadpool gets introduced to the universe, he just kicks his ass.
Like Deadpool beats Taskmaster's ass?
Yeah, because that's what happens in the comics.
Mhm.
He's
He's
essentially
so
Moon Knight
crazy.
to Dracula.
Yeah.
And Dracula, where's my fucking money, bitch? Like, that's how Deadpool is to Taskmaster. Like, Taskmaster, I'm here. Like, just this asinine asshole to that dude. And it's great, and I love it, and I would love to see that implemented. I think it's good setup as long as they follow through with it. Now, talking about setup and follow through, that post-credit scene.
Which one?
So, do we want to talk about the quote-unquote mid-credit scene? Because that's
Yeah.
what some people were calling it, and that's why I was going off of that.
Mhm. I just I watched the movie today this morning. So
Yes.
I was like, that's the end of the movie. Because
Yes.
what happens is the sky base falls to the ground, right? And Colonel Ross, whatever his name is.
Secretary Thunderbolt Ross.
Yeah, Secretary Ross. He ends up driving with what's left of the U.S. military, or what is the U.S. military. It's not what's left of S.H.I.E.L.D. is what I was going to say. But he's driving up to the wreckage of this city. We see Black Widow standing victorious, and she looks towards the vehicles, and then cut to black. And then 2 weeks later...
I think that would have been a great end. Because we know she gets out, and we don't have to, like...
We don't have to see
her
why.
after that point.
Yeah.
Because we know where she goes after this.
Mm-hmm. So then, cut to black. 2 weeks later, we see what Fixer Man... Mason gets her the Quinjet, essentially.
Yes.
And then her last line before she rides off into the sunset is, I'm going to go break my friends out of prison. And that inherently leaves me with questions, because if she breaks her friends out of the prison that I think she's planning to break them out of, how the hell do Clint and Ant-Man end up going on probation?
Okay, that's actually explained in universe through the because occasionally they do little comic runs in universe to explain like in between movie stuff. Clint and Scott stay behind because they have families and they don't want to leave their families essentially. So they stay behind and be like, hey, we don't know what happened. We stayed behind. That shows us good behavior. Can we at least be like under home arrest?
Mm-hmm.
And that's how that happens.
So that's what happens off screen in a comic.
Yes.
Okay, it doesn't count. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
It's explained in universe, okay?
Yeah.
And it's explained in Ant-Man and the Wasp that Scott took a deal.
Yeah, like Scott took a deal. I know that, and that's also why Clint isn't there in Infinity War, because he took a deal. Like, it's talked about specifically. And that's why I'm confused, because as a person who's never seen or read any comic book ever, I mean, I've read comic books. I'm exaggerating here, but I have no idea how she could have broken out some people while the others stay in jail. Like that in the
They just
context
choose.
of just the movie makes no sense. Of the movies makes no sense. So
It, I, I mean, I think it makes sense to me because it just like, and not because of the comic, because like it makes sense for Scott and Clint to take a deal and like stay behind for family, like
Mhm.
because those they are shown as family men.
Mhm.
You get Clint with his family in Age of Ultron, and you get Scott with his daughter being his focus for why he's doing what he's doing
For the entire
in
movie,
Ant-Man.
yeah.
Yes. So I don't need those to be explained even by a comic. Those make sense to me without
Mhm.
it. Um, and it makes sense that like
But you understand what I mean by that though, right? Like as a person who's like I understand they're family people. I understand that they like their family. But they literally just said in the context of the films, they're in prison, I'm going to break them out. And then we know that some people are gone and some people are like it could be very confusing if all you've ever seen is the movies. And
well no,
that's
I think it makes sense because we get
like
that end credit
it
scene in Civil War.
well like it how do I explain this? I feel like I know I talk about like show don't tell and like the audience is smarter than what a lot of film directors make, but in this instance, I feel like they are just letting us connect too many dots ourselves.
Well, you want to know what I say entirely?
Hmm.
Just cut that scene.
Yeah, sure.
We don't need that scene because then your confusion's gone.
Mm-hmm. Totally fine.
We just it's just gone. Scene's gone. I don't need this scene because you know
Mm-hmm.
what? That should have been a scene between her talking to Yelena in some way. Because if we're doing this movie where it is, we should have had one last interaction between those two.
Yeah,
Like a phone call.
something.
Something.
Because moving on very quickly, just so we can get back to this. The end credit scene, the post credit sequence, is we find Yelena at Natasha's grave, so we know
Yes.
100% now at this point Natasha is absolutely dead. There's no way she's coming back. So I mean, unless they do other prequels,
Or multiverse shit.
yeah. So now we see Yelena. She gets introduced to Contessa Valentegra, whatever her full name is.
Yeah.
and-
The person who showed up in
Falcon
Falcon
Winter
Winter
Soldier.
Soldier,
Yeah.
which this was supposed to come out before that, but it did get pushed one more time.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was supposed to come out like last winter.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
So we have her who works with this agency that Contessa's with, who now also has U.S. agent, and but it also leaves them billions of questions because at the end of right before they go to the cut to black, we see Alex Molina, which is their mom, the fake mom, by the way. We hadn't mentioned that at all. Her name yet.
yeah, it's a fake. No, I said her name, Elena.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
I said when I was giving off like.
Yeah, fake
Characters.
mom is Melina, and Melina and Yelena is the sister, and Alex. We get to see those Alexi. We get to see those three leave in a helicopter or airplane with
Harrier. I think it's more of a Harrier.
a Harrier jet with
Jet
all
engines.
with all of the widows that were in the Red Room sky base at the time.
Yes.
So they disappear, but they also disappear with the last vial of the antidote for the mind control
And
chemicals
the list
and the
of
list.
widows.
Yeah. So we know out there in the world, there's a Russian super soldier, a former Russian super scientist, a army of undercover secret spies all throughout the world, and we hear nothing about them at all until whatever timeline that this post-credit sequence takes place in. It's after Endgame. It's probably after Far From Home, but we don't know.
It's at least I would say I want to give it past. I don't think it's before or after Far From Home. I think it's actually going to be closer to when Falcon Winter Soldier takes place.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's gonna be more around then because it
Mhm.
seems like Valentina's doing her little recruitment thing.
Yeah. So
I do appreciate this scene setting up Hawkeye and some interesting stuff with that show.
yeah. So yeah, Hawkeye is going to be hunted down by the sister who we didn't know existed for his series. All right.
Again, I'm just looking forward to Kate Bishop. All right, man. Like,
yeah.
I'm a simple man.
So now I have questions because what direction do you think they're going to go then? Because we've now introduced Contessa, and she obviously has schemes and plans, and that she's been in 2 movies now, and she's making her emotions. But
well, she's been in 2 series.
Yes,
2 things.
My
2
apologies.
Marvel properties.
Yeah, 2 Marvel properties where she's making motions and doing her plans. We don't know what they are yet. But at the same time, they're also alluding towards another cosmic bad guy, multiversal bad guy, actually. So, I wonder which direction they're going to take us in first.
Definitely the. Oh, okay. Contessa's part of Secret Invasion.
Okay.
That's my theory right now. Contessa's part of the Secret Invasion.
Like
she's recruiting
Skrull
people
invasion, or
well, we don't know if it's going to be Skrull. It could be Kree because like Skrulls are portrayed more as good people in this, or it could be the bad faction of Skrulls. We don't know yet.
And I was about to say the Kree are the yellow race, or they're the ones
the blue, the ones the who people.
Yeah, like the Kree, the Marvel.
Yeah, the one Captain Marvel worked with.
Yeah.
They have a lot of people who look humanoid.
Who's the lady? Who are the yellow people in Guardian of the Galaxy then? Old aliens, Guardian of the Galaxy.
Oh, those are the oh god, the
Sovereign.
Yes, and they're creating Adam, who will be probably our antagonist in As Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Yeah, because I get the Sovereign and the Kree mixed up in my head.
Okay, that's fair.
That's why I was confused.
Because they're one's a villain of one and one's a villain of the other Guardians movies. That's fair. Kree are ones in Captain Marvel. That's how I would say to remember it. The non-green ones in Captain Marvel. Skrull are easy to remember because they're very distinct. Like Skrulls are green aliens with like wrinkly chins. I'm thinking she may be part of that, and because Secret Invasion is about heroes getting replaced with Skrulls. Now, not necessarily Skrulls in this, but it could be something similar to that. And actually, that'd be a pretty cool setup. Not saying that's what's going to happen because, like, we have no idea. But I'm going to throw that theory as my theory for right now for what's being set up with her, because that is something that we know is coming. With like, we're getting Samuel L. Jackson in that series, and Mads Mikkelsen.
I'm curious to see more about Samuel L. Jackson.
Not Mads Mikkelsen, sorry. The guy who plays the Skrull guy.
Ben Mendelsohn.
Yes, Ben Mendelsohn. Sorry, they have very similar like syllable names. They both play antagonists a lot. I didn't. That was a weird little Freudian like mix up. Mads Mikkelsen hasn't been in a Marvel film, has he?
Mads Mikkelsen?
I wonder
I don't believe so.
He'd be really good in one. Why don't we have that? Marvel, make it happen. But I think that would be where they go with that. Now, where they go with the widows, I heard one idea from Kind of Funny being like, what if we get like a widows like a series, but it doesn't like have one main character. It's like a mini series where it kind of goes over different widows stories. Post Red Room going down.
Okay.
And maybe them helping save other widows and stuff like that. Being kind of interconnected, but not like needing like each episode being its own little episode of stuff. And I'd be cool with that for a mini series. I don't know where we go with it though. Straight up, like
Well, I mean, that's kind of what they're doing with all of their Marvel series TV shows. They're almost set up to be one season only shows, and then they're like, all right, we're done. Next season, next series, different characters.
Well, WandaVision could have a second season. Depending on
Maybe.
where Loki ends, Loki could have a second season.
That one I think has the best possibility. But there's definitely not going to be a Falcon and Winter Soldier again.
Because we're getting Captain America 4.
Yeah.
We know where that we saw that as the setup where that would go. Like we knew that would be what happens. Its inevitable end. Which I'm cool with, by the way. Like that was something that I was hoping would happen. And I think that's what the fan base wants to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Based off of the reception to how that series ended. So I think that would like a mini series like that would work, like What If-ish, but I don't know if it's needed. So I don't exactly know what we do with it going forward. Straight up, like that's one that I won't lie to you. I don't have a decent theory for that. The Contessa, I have an all right theory for.
Mm-hmm.
This one, no idea. And I will say they will resolve Contessa before they resolve whatever we do with Kang and Quantumania.
Mm-hmm.
Because Kang is one of those nth level bosses like Apocalypse and Thanos.
We'll see him again in 10 years.
I think they're gonna speed up the timeline on that one.
Like I could see maybe
I see
like
Phase 5.
Yeah, maybe I was about to say maybe 6 movies where he's
Well, because we're getting
teased in them.
yeah, yes. Oh, because we're gonna get him in Quantumania,
Mhm.
and that'll be his Guardians of the Galaxy, but he's gonna be more involved than Thanos ever was.
Yeah.
And then we'll see hints of him throughout. And then we'll get like Young Avengers where they like maybe because they fight him in the comics. Which again continues my like role on this. I think that's why they chose Kang, because recently in the comics they went up against him.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think within the last 2 to 3 years they went up against him.
Okay.
So and Marvel kind of spitballs ideas with the comics now to see what works, what doesn't. Which I'm perfectly fine with. Like I like that idea of like the comics being like what stories you throw out your stories and be like, okay, this is what people liked from the comics, this is what people didn't,
Mm-hmm.
and then adapt them like they've been. That's how they do it, and I think they do a really good job of that. So that's why I think that's where they're going to go with it. Now how they get there, I'm really interested to see. But I think Kang will be either Phase 5 or Phase 6, and I feel like the timeline's going to be a little bit faster with the phases,
Mhm.
which I'm fine with.
Absolutely.
Because what like Phase 4 is probably going to be through 2023 because of pushbacks. Because we would have had it last year, and I think it was originally supposed to end 2022.
Mhm.
But because of pushbacks, I think that's going to be 2023 now when we get the end of Phase 4.
Either way.
Yeah. And because of that, we're going to have years where it's kind of crunched a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Which kind of sucks, but at the same time, there's a lot of good stuff, especially if you like shows that are going to come out from it. Okay, another thing. What did you think of the final action set pieces?
Oh, sorry. I thought I said that during the thing. I liked the Red Room fights.
Yeah, Red
All
Room
of that
fight
was great.
Dude, I loved how like visceral that fight got towards the end.
Yeah, right before she like almost blacks out was my favorite point, where it's like, damn, she's being mobbed. Like
she's getting Green Lanterned.
Yeah, like I 100% was like, that was one of the moments that I was very happy for in this movie, because that was probably the lowest we've ever, other than her being dead on the floor. Like that was
literally low.
Yeah,
down on the floor.
Yeah, I think that's the most beaten up we've ever seen her.
Yes,
so
100%.
Like that really raises the stakes of this movie, because even when she was fighting galactic level bosses, she was never almost beaten to death, you know?
Yes.
So that's the kind of stuff that I mean by subverting expectations. They decided
100%.
that she needed to almost die in this film, which really is what made it for me. If
that scene was like, you knew she was going to make it out, but you're like, holy shit,
Yeah.
what the fuck?
Yeah, exactly. Like, you knew she was going to make it out, so they have to make it incredibly high stakes and dramatic. So I loved it.
And they did that with the thing literally falling out of the air and her getting the shit kicked in by people who are trained better than her, and under a mind control that doesn't let them essentially stop. It makes them relentless with whatever command they're given. So, and he literally said, punish her for it. Like, literally, make it slow is essentially what he says before walking out of the room.
Yeah. Only
And
to
they
then
do
realize his ring was stolen. But
yeah, which good swipe on her, dude. And that fucking she fucking magic tricked the pencil moment of being her calling him a weak bitch essentially, and being like, you just weren't strong enough. Wham! Like, I'm like, oh shit.
yeah, but still, like, I thought that was cool. But that was also the whole get the nerve. Yeah. Whack, I've broken my nose. That's the nerve.
That was more that's more on Melina as a character. Than like Melina's explanation more than on like how the execution of it, I guess.
Like, I did like how she was like, oh, you weren't strong enough. I thought you could punch harder, so let me break my own nose.
Dude, seriously. And just that, I of course got squeamish as soon as she goes like this. I'm like, oh god, here we go. I'm like, oh.
You know, I think I wish they left it broken. Personally, just because I think it would have been awesome to see her ending the film with that broken nose and like barely holding it together, but she's still fucking there.
Okay, you know what they should have done then? Have Yelena go, like, have her hands on her shoulders and go real quick, fix the nose. But at the end of the movie, her nose is good. What? They're just fixing your nose.
Yeah, it's your nose, comrade.
Dude,
all the better to sniff vodka
and so one of my complaints that I kind of talked about, but I didn't go into detail. Red Guardian needs to be used better in a fight against Taskmaster. We need to see that fight. We need to see Taskmaster use Captain America's style and him going, this is what I live for.
Maybe even have him reload his fists.
I'd be down for that. Or like have them fight over the shield and have him use the shield.
Yeah.
Or give him Red Guardian's shield for a bit. Come on. Something.
I thought it was weird seeing the Red Guardian pose like this to fight. I was like, why are you
bear style?
Yeah, I was like, why are you open paw?
There's a really good call, by the way, the little poll with Crimson Dynamo. I love that. Your days is the Crimson Dynamo. It's the Red Guardian.
Shut up. So that was actually a moment. I thought it was funny, the Crimson Dynamo line and that stuff. But then I was immediately disappointed because she's mad at this family because they lied to her. She thought that they were actually her family this whole time. And she just found out that it's been a lie. And
I mean, it's because it was her hope.
Yeah.
Like, you gotta, like,
and then
that was the thing getting her through the mind control.
And then she's okay, even though she was pissed off, all because he started singing. It's like he's done
by
nothing.
The way, I can't escape this fucking song. I need to tell this story real quick. So every day I've explained this on the horror podcast, but this song, it haunts me still. Because as soon as it started playing, I'm like, my dad would get a fucking kick out of this because he would turn to me and start fucking singing it. Because every day on the car ride to fucking school, fucking goddamn Whiskey and Rye singing "This Is the Day I Will Die" comes onto the fucking radio on the fucking classic rock channel at about 7 o'clock on the ride to fucking school. And it's just, oh yeah, God, as soon as it came up, I'm like, I will never escape this song. It will always be there.
It's funny too, because it was their car ride song too.
It was! Immediately, it was in a car ride and she started singing. I'm like, oh, bye, this American bye.
Bye, all my last brain cells.
I'm like, I can't escape this. I can't. Fuck. Sorry, I had to share that. I need to call my dad and be like, hey, you need to watch Black Widow for one reason. There's a song in it, and you'll know as soon as the song plays. And I will probably get a text me like, yep, you're right.
I'll probably be like, and this will be the day that I die.
This will be the day that I die. Fuck!
But yeah, that disappointed me because I was like, yeah, this is actually a really good talk and discussion about like human emotion, and now it's a movie again.
Well, I mean, people that is something that like people will have happen. Like it was him actually being a father figure and being like having that moment of being like, I know this was something that mattered to you.
Yeah.
I think it's a good moment despite the fact that they chose this fucking song. It's a great song, by the way. It's just I've heard it so many fucking times in my life. And my dad would sing it right at me like every time. So like I have trauma from this song. Not like bad trauma, it's just a joking trauma for me, but it's like damn it. Damn it, damn it, damn it. I think it's still a good moment though because I think it shows Alexei like realizing that like he needs to do something to because he still believes in the family too, but in his like messed up
Yeah, his crazy, like, we were never a family. You were the hardest 3 years of my life, but you're still
But,
my
like,
daughters.
yeah, he looks at them as daughters, but he also looks at that time as being the roughest for him because that's like that 3 years was the end of him as guardian,
Mm-hmm.
which that's hard on anyone. Like essentially giving up his.
He's literally the person who I've been told never to become. The person who rides on their glory days.
Yes.
Like, man, I remember when I was a pro varsity athlete in high school. Oh man, those were the days.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's what it's like.
But like that's his moment of realizing like how to be better about that.
Mm-hmm.
I do agree with you that it's not paid off as well by the end. And I just don't think they handle a guardian well at the end, but I think he's still fantastic throughout the rest of the movie. So that's one of those things that like yes and no.
I think my favorite funny moment in the film probably would be Yelena doing the superhero landing and be like, ugh, that felt nasty.
Dude, what's with the pose?
You're such a poser. What's with the you land and then you like flip your head.
What's with the hair flip? Dude, as soon as that happened, I'm like, she does do that a lot. I've never thought about it until that moment. And I'm like, yeah, she really does that a lot, doesn't she?
Does it every movie.
And then the next scene, like the next main scene, she does the land and she's like, such a poser. And then they rule of threes it. Because you do that, you have the such a poser, and then she does the landing and she's like, ugh.
Not for me.
It's such a good rule of three on that one. I love that.
I liked it though because she at least emulated it like a little sister would.
Yes, 100%. Emulating it like in the most mocking way possible.
Yeah.
And then actually trying it and being like, you know, I don't like that.
Yeah, never mind. I'm gonna be different than you, sister. So that was fun.
Yes. Okay, the reason why I feel like we should have gotten the Budapest movie first, okay, is because Dreykov would have felt more like a villain.
Probably,
we get introduced to Dreykov in this movie. I feel like we should have gotten the Black Widow movie during Phase 2, which was Budapest, and then Phase 3 we get this movie, which it like that would have been her movies, if that makes sense, because we get that setup for Dreykov, we understand, and like it's before, you know, Iron Man kind of stuff that we've gotten before, and then we move forward from there. Because like there are movies that I'm fine with movies taking place earlier in the timeline, as long as they don't feel like they're kind of crammed in there.
Yeah.
And this one does feel a little crammed in there because like now you kind of have to watch this right after Civil War to make it work, but you can't watch the post-credit scene. So like if I watch this with someone who's never experienced like most of Marvel, they might have seen a few movies here and there. I'm like, all right. And they're like, well, why can't we watch the post-credit? I'm like, because we can't yet. Why? Because we can't yet. I can't explain it because that'll spoil like some of the most important stuff later. So, and like also her like fucking funeral is interrupted yet again. Like she doesn't really have a good, like it's a fun send off for the character in a way, but it's not a good close to the character.
Yeah.
Like we don't get closure with the characters. Why I wish we had that phone call instead of the fucking Quinjet scene, and have her like maybe have like her out like her
Like, there needs to be a reason
On a-
why they haven't talked in 10 years.
Yeah.
Again.
Also, we need to figure out what happened to her in the snap. We have no idea if she was blipped or not.
Hmm.
Which I'm thinking she was, because Natasha talks about it being her, like the Avengers being her only family now.
Mm-hmm. Which, yeah, is plot holy, because if the Avengers were her only family and she lost that family during the snap, is what she talked about then too, I think.
Yeah.
But in this movie, she's like, I've got 2 families. So now she had no families in this after the snap, but she had 2 families in this movie. But she only talks about having the Avengers as her family. So
because they're like a broken family.
Yeah, like it's literally the Avengers are like, does she have family? Just us. They have no idea that this sister exists.
Yeah, 'cause she didn't talk about it as far as we know.
Mm-hmm.
So like that'll be a revelation for Hawkeye later.
Yeah.
Unless like she talked about her, like they probably have that on file. Like Hawkeye probably knows.
Yeah, Hawkeye hopefully would know, because they're supposed to be best friends.
Yeah, there's some questions in the
Yeah,
air.
could you imagine if like Hawkeye in the Hawkeye series, he's like, "Who's this person who just shot at me?" Like, Clint Barton, you're gonna die.
I'm Yelena.
Yeah, and who?
Like, that's like me going like, "Oh yeah, Steven, I have a sister."
Yeah, basically.
Because you've met my 2 brothers.
Yeah.
And going like, what?
Like I
have an older sister.
I feel like if they were to make it so Barton doesn't know Yelena, it'd be like it'd be the Scarlet Witch meets Thanos in Endgame moment. You took everything from me. I don't even know who you are.
Yet. Yeah, I agree. It's just gonna handle. It's gonna come down to how they handle it, essentially.
Hey Dev, what kind of bullet makes those holes?
That was as soon as like they pointed at and panned to him, I'm like, ah,
Yeah.
I know those.
Which I kind of wish that's the one instance when I thought the Budapest movie would have been a better movie, because that's their safe house, and they had arrow holes in the safe house.
Dude, straight up, that would have been like, if this was like a sequel to that would have been such a funny callback, being like, remembering those arrows were there and like, what kind of gun makes those? And it pans to it and you're like, I remember that scene.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been a good callback. I wish we would have got I wish this movie just does not fit as the beginning of Phase 4. Like, the beginning of Phase 4 should have been either Captain Marvel, or just keep Captain Marvel where it is, put another movie in there somewhere, push back Endgame till June, or something, and then do push it so we have one more movie somewhere in there, and then do start out with Shang-Chi or something, or Doctor Strange, something else, because this just doesn't fit the time. It doesn't necessarily have to fit the timeline, but because of where it fits into the timeline, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Release wise, it'll work perfectly fine for the most part post DVD release, because you can watch it in order.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't work theatrically released, in my opinion.
I agree with that. I do.
Okay. All right.
This movie felt, after I left the theater, I was very meh at the end of this. I was like, why now? Why this movie when it does nothing for the future or the past of this franchise?
Yeah, because it only sets up one thing. It only sets up Hawkeye, and that's not enough, in my opinion, for setup. And it sets up something with the Widows, but we don't know what that is. We have no context for what that could be. And it kind of sets up maybe a future Taskmaster, but we don't know where that's going to go.
Mm-hmm.
This could have just been a one-off, which is a huge underutilization of a fantastic villain, in my opinion.
Yeah, I loved seeing the little Easter eggs in the fights. That was the best part of this movie to me.
Oh God, right? That was so good. Like that fucking flip he does off the car with the shield.
Mm-hmm.
And me going immediately being like, Captain America, or
yeah. Oh my God.
Black Panther.
Mm.
Though I'm trying to figure out who he would mimic for the sword combat.
Tough one. Probably Loki.
He can't.
But
maybe Thor in a sense.
But yeah, Thor's not a sword fighter, so
He's a blunt object fighter.
and with Thor, it's not an ability really. It's the weight of the hammer that's doing the damage.
Yeah.
So
maybe this should have been like a morning star instead of a star.
like
Or a
Morningstar.
sword.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. That's all I have really at this point. If you have anything else.
Not really. I'm pretty sure I did, but I've forgotten what it's been. In
Sorry.
No worries. It's fine.
I kind of rambled. My bad.
It's all good. But I do
passionate
remember
about
something
these.
I wanted to talk about in the news section. So I guess we'll move on to that.
Give me a second.
In the Morse code card.
Yes, I do. Where's the S? There we go.
You should.
I need to practice
I
that.
was about to say, you either need to practice it or write it down so you could see it without having to search for the letters.
Do I have a pen nearby? I usually have a pen on my desk. Okay.
I wanted to be like, why don't you have a pen? It took me a moment to find my pen. I always have a pen on my desk for my rapid notes. In fact, I also have a Sharpie. But
I put lines under the letters I need.
all right. But it's not even really news what I wanted to talk about. It was a dumb theory that I thought of in the middle of sitting in the theater. What if DC
That's
Universe...
a show. Sorry.
Yeah, that is. What if the DC Universe and the Fast and Furious franchise are mixed? Because I thought of this specifically because I saw the Suicide Squad trailer, and Idris Elba is this badass killer in Suicide Squad. And what if he's killed in this movie by Jason Statham by a bullet in the head, and then gets his
That would be fucking funny.
and then gets his revenge in Hobbs and Shaw.
That would be funny, but like no way. But I like the theory. Okay,
Yeah,
I like it.
It's just another silly Fast and Furious.
It's like it's my Mission Impossible theory, with it connecting to Fast and Furious.
You could literally make Fast and Furious connect with everything now. There's a
I
meme
would
for
love
it
it.
everywhere.
Dude,
Franchise.
I love the family memes. It's so good. You've made a few of your own that I influenced, and they came out perfect.
I've got another meme that I plan to make here soon, but it's Star Trek related.
That's fine.
Star Trek and Fast and Furious, baby. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. My news. I think I had something, but I actually don't remember what it was now. Never mind. I don't have any news.
Let's say I don't think I actually posted anything in Discord.
No, there was not. It's a slow news week, movie wise.
Because everyone's talking about the box office.
Yeah, and it actually kind of being like alive again in a way. Like not what it was pre-2020, but like good for box office. Good enough that movies are making their money back.
There's a bunch of other random things that I've seen too. Like there's this
Should we reveal our theories for Loki? That could be news.
I mean, sure.
Because we've hinted at it, because there's one episode left, so this is the week that we discover who's right.
So, like, I remember my initial theory was Loki finds Loki for Loki, meaning our Loki 1137 or whatever, 1177 is the Loki
from Endgame.
Yeah, Loki from Endgame. Or yeah, Loki from Endgame. Took me a moment because I was like, isn't he technically from just Avengers? But whatever.
He's technically, yeah.
Technically, but so that Loki finds our variant Loki, which is Lady Loki, aka Sylvie, for Loki.
Great character, by the way.
Yeah, I love Sylvie. For the Loki who is the head of the TVA, which was my thought. So
I dismissed this theory immediately. I was like, there's no way it's going to be Kang, the Conqueror, who makes the most sense for time travel. And And then like episode 4 happened, and I was like, and I was slowly starting to lean towards Steven's theory. Episode 4 happened, I'm like, fuck, Steven might be right. Because that's a trickster move to do that.
Mm.
That's straight up tricky. And Steven started to lean further to Kang over time.
Episode 5, the last one, is the one that really did it for me. Because
I can see that because
so
of
many Easter eggs related to him.
100%. Which is why I threw out the mixed theory that our Kang the Conqueror is going to be a Loki variant. Which would be fucking awesome.
It would be pretty darn cool.
That would be the perfect play, in my opinion.
Because, I mean, one thing that I've noticed, don't watch Nerdist when they're doing their analysis of the episodes.
Oh, I don't watch anything like that anymore.
Like, I do. I watch analysis and reviews on occasion because it's entertaining. I like seeing other people's opinions.
I'll watch reviews, but I don't watch, like, theory and analyzing anymore.
Yeah. So, like, I watched their episode 4 analysis, and what they do is they also talk about the trailer that Disney releases for the next episode. So, I know for a fact that there's another Loki that we haven't seen.
The Loki who is Thor.
No. Boastful Loki was supposed to be Thor Loki. There's a Loki. Well, I guess technically he's supposed to be Thor. I guess he's like, the way I've been calling him is like God Loki, because he's in a porcelain palace and he's covered in the golden armor of like whatever, and he looks really neat and clean, and like, I just know that we haven't seen that Loki.
That would be a great Loki to set up as the Kang the Conqueror too, because Kang the Conqueror looks at himself as a god.
Mm-hmm.
So,
trickster god.
Dude, like, I like my second theory. I like it because if it's right, that would be fucking cool. You don't even have to get Tom Hiddleston to play the role, because you could have what's his name?
Whoever's gonna be playing.
Oh no, they already cast Kang the Conqueror.
Yeah.
Because there's variants though, that works perfectly.
It's gonna be played by Jonathan Majors.
Okay.
Daniel Richards, aka Kang the Conqueror. And the one thing that I find super interesting about Kang too is that there's multiple versions of him.
Yes, there's like the Council of Kangs.
Yeah, I mean, there's also the Council of Reeds.
Yes, that too. Yes,
but
there's a Council of Luthers too.
Mm-hmm. But like, I like the idea that it's just there's so many different versions of him. Some versions are like Egyptian, other are super mechanical, others look exactly the same as the one.
And a lot of them succeed in taking over their timeline, except for 616.
Mm-hmm. And then they help and still fail.
It's because 616 universe is just fucking OP.
631.
I'm interested to see what they do. Like this, I'm interested to see where we get at the end of this show, and if like, I could see it being a Kang. At the end, I can see it being a Loki, and I could see it being a Loki who turns into Kang. Like, all three are viable options.
There's another theory I saw out there that it's literally just a Wizard of Oz reference, where it's an old person behind. It's literally just a person who created the TVA who's really old and just stuck behind the facade of the three timekeepers.
That would also be funny.
That's definitely a trickster thing to do. All this big anticipation, and it's a villain that can't even fight them.
I would be down for that too.
That's fun.
Oh, did you see that meme of Owen Wilson driving Lightning McQueen?
Mm-hmm.
Good chow. Good chow.
Yeah.
Perfectly shaded and everything, like Lightning McQueen. I would have laughed so fucking hard if they actually did that, being like the Pixar universe is like in the multiverse of Marvel.
The
The Incredibles would be technically multiverse then.
Absolutely. One of my favorite things that I saw is people edited the sequence where Mobius goes, "What? How?" When we were talking about the death of Hunter C-20. He's like, "She's dead. What? How?" And then they cut it. "What? How?" And then they cut it again. "What? How?" And then they cut it even shorter and shorter to eventually it's him going, "Wow."
Wow.
Yeah. It's
wow.
Yeah. C-20's dead. Wow. Because he has the
Wow.
he has the that sound at the
Wow.
end of the how. So they just put the what W at the front. Yeah.
Wow.
Or Mobius.
Dude, I can't wait to see what we get for a conclusion.
Yeah,
with
the conclusion is in 2 days, and I'm super fucking excited because there's
Dude,
a lot of
seriously.
threads that they still need to connect.
This is the best Disney Plus show so far.
Agreed.
And that's saying something, because everything Disney Plus like that we've watched has been really good.
Mm-hmm.
Mandalorian was really good. WandaVision was really good, and Falcon and the Winter Soldier was really good.
For me, WandaVision started to falter at the end because they started with such an amazing premise, and then it just became what it became, which was okay. It was a great show still, but it wasn't what I loved in the first couple of episodes.
Yes. But, I mean, that was always where the conclusion was going to have to go, unfortunately. Falcon and Winter Soldier, I think, was a better show because it was it was more consistent throughout.
Yeah, start to end was the exact same.
And it was, I loved Sam Wilson in that show. I think they did a really strong work with him.
My only complaint with Bucky and Winter Soldier is how they opened the show with a paragliding escape, because they need to be like, look at these people have the same skill as Bucky, which is or Sam, which is floating through the air. So watch him do it better for the beginning sequence of the film. Like,
I love that beginning sequence.
Like, it was really cool, but I was like, it's so on the nose. It's literally the same superpower fight, but it's not even a fight.
It's just, it's a chase sequence, and I love chase sequences, especially like aerial dogfighting chase sequences are great. And this was like a weird cross between a dogfight and like a Tom Cruise sprinting chase, because it was a flying chase. Like,
sorry, I had the temp pad upside down.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the end of Loki. So, not in the sense that I want it to end, but in the sense of, goddamn, where do we go with this conclusion?
Yeah, we need to see what happens with the TVA. We need to see what happens with Loki and Sylvie. Here's a fun theory I'm going to throw out there. The Loki and the Sylvie that we see are going to die. They are not going to survive to the end of the series.
Don't do that to me. Don't do that to me, please.
Wouldn't it be awfully great? Oh, that was a loud noise.
Do you have anything else?
Not really, no. I got none. All right, cool. Let's end this stuff. Let's get out of here.
Steven, what movies are we doing next week?
I'm pretty sure next week's Space Jam, right?
Yeah, Space Jam and Space Jam: A New Legacy. Welcome to the Space Jam. Oh, dude, I can't wait. That song is forever imprinted in my brain.
I'm interested to see how they change it. I know it's electronic-y now instead of just all fantasy, but
okay, prediction. Bugs Bunny is gonna put down, like, Daffy's gonna have the roster made. And he's gonna put Michael Jordan on it. And like, it'll be written in really small print, or like Bugs is gonna write it in really small print on there, and like Michael Jordan's gonna show up at the end of the Bill Murray does in Space Jam. And he's gonna show up and be like, heard you needed help, Bugs. And it's like, right on cue.
On
and,
your
like,
left.
Don Cheadle's like, wait a second, you can't play. And Bugs is like, well, if you look at the roster, and magnifying glass,
Yeah.
is Michael Jordan, and we get Michael Jordan and LeBron playing together to win the match.
So, do they call him King James in the movie?
Yes,
Is that his nickname, King James?
that's his nickname. Yeah,
Okay.
that's one of his nicknames.
Okay. I don't know anything about sports, so
King
as you can
James is one of
tell,
his nicknames. 'Cause
I'm a
he's
sportsy
like,
person.
King James is one of his nicknames. I'm not a huge basketball person, but I know that.
Welcome,
So-
King James. I guess that's cool.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be interesting.
I'm on. So yeah, that's next week. Look forward to it. It's gonna be great. At least I hope
Yep.
so. It's definitely nostalgic, the first movie for me.
Oh, 100%. We've
Come up
discussed
and
this off
slam,
stream.
and welcome to
It's
the
not
jam.
a good movie. It's not a good movie, but it's a great movie at the same time. Like, that's, oh, you know what, Steven? That's the week you're going to turn your brain off. I know it now.
Probably, yeah. I'll probably be like, yay, I'm a kid again.
Looney Tunes! Tunes Squad! Tunes Squad!
Yeah. The movie doesn't end with a "that's all, folks," and then I'm
That's all, folks.
gonna be a little disappointed.
Yeah. Hey, it'll be fun, though.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, that's next week. So like, comment, subscribe, ring the bells, leave a review.
All the things.
Yeah, all the things. There's way too many things to talk about nowadays. Just do them all. Just don't get hurt. Yeah, we'll see you guys next week for a slam-a-jam-a-thon. That is a Space Jam. Have a sound cue ready?
Welcome to the Space Jam.
To the Space Jam.
All right. Come on and slam. And welcome to the jam.